more than half, well over half of its TANF funds on these basic things. But because states have had so much flexibility in the way they spend their money, in general, less than about 7 or 8% of TANF dollars are spent on work programs. And the kinds of, Mark mentioned, in this day and age, people need some education. They need education credentials to successfully enter the labor force and start to earn decently. But TANF makes it harder for people to get those credentials. We know when it's tried it works, and there's a Colorado evaluation that I cite here where even the short-term credential had a substantial increase, led to a substantial increase in the earnings. More than an increase of $416 per quarter was the average gain, okay? If they had an AA degree, applied sciences degree, their earnings rose by $2,200 a quarter. So people aren't getting rich, but when they got the credentials and higher post-secondary education, they started to do better. So that's very important. What do we do now to make TANF work better for families? And there are lots of things. For one thing, there ought to be more requirements that TANF actually serve the poorest of the poor. And there are no such requirements, and I've already given you a lot of data about how so many are not being served. There should be a minimum percentage. Some people have suggested 60% of the TANF dollars ought to be spent on those core services, work programs, basic cash assistance, child care. We no longer should have everything being judged on this crazy combination of work participation rates, that they participate in something or other that's defined as work, but states can get around that by something that they call the caseload reduction credit. So really the incentives for states are just get those people off the caseload or discourage them from getting on at all. And we see that so many people are not leaving because they got a great job. They're leaving because they're pushed off in some way, sanctioned off. So replace that, have the incentive being that states are rewarded because of a good outcome, that people get a job that can pay. Provide competitive grants to states so that they can explore what is most effective, like that Colorado program. Allow more education and training. Increase the federal funding for TANF. The block grant, this fixed amount of money, has fallen in value by more than 1/3 over the past 20 years. And so there isn't room now to make some of the changes that we really need. Create a special fund that allows states to respond when there is a recession. We did that in the aftermath of the Great Recession, and partly that allowed us to have a subsidized jobs program that put hundreds of thousands of people to work. That was very successful and that Congress let expire. The final thing I'll say, there is so much that we have to recognize of a package of assistance and economic justice measures that are needed to help people get out of poverty. TANF is a pretty small part of that, but raising the minimum wage, having paid family leave, sick leave, making sure that SNAP, the formerly known as food stamp program, and child nutrition programs really reach the people who need it. It's much more effective than TANF in doing that, but the benefits are low. We need more housing vouchers. You'll hear more about that. We need to modernize our unemployment insurance program so that it reaches more of the low-income workers, yeah, I'm there, who need assistance. But it is very wrong for us to think that there is no work history, even among the poorest of the poor, those living below half the poverty line, those living, as a recent book has pointed out, on less than $2 a day. Even those people have work experience. They just can't keep at it because of how difficult and unresponsive the job market is for them. So fixing TANF is part of the issue, but it's not the whole issue. We need to work together for a vision of what actually helps people get out of poverty. So I really thank you so much for the work that you've done. You've helped Virginia do something that most states have not done. You have raised the benefit levels. I know that you have so much more that you want to do, and I hope that we at the Coalition on Human Needs, who are focused on the national, federal issues, can work in partnership with you to make lives of low-income people better.
Deborah, thank you so much. Any more people want to have